in advance, but I feel really strongly, and I'm pretty sure I said this a long time ago, I know I've said it when I was on the chamber, that I think it's really important that the logos that we use are consistent with the Go Mendo logos, because that leverages all the money that's being spent by Go Mendo on that whole discover, whatever it is, undiscovered, uncorked, or whatever. And that it's stupid of us to ignore that and to go and do our own. I mean, uniquely Ukiah, the words are fine. But to me, the logo is, it's vastly different from the Go Mendo logo. And it doesn't capitalize on so much that comes, that we could be getting. And so, I don't know what the group's plan is for, next year's, if you are planning to keep this logo or develop it, but I really strongly urge the committee to consider working with that graphic design company that Go Mendo works for and have it look the same, use the same font, different words, whatever, but it will be recognizable to people. They're advertising in the same regions. And it's crazy for us to do something different, that's so different like this. And it looks Western, which I don't think is what we, so.
Well, part of what we struggle with as the community of being an inland community is a lot of what the Promotional Alliance puts on the front of their materials is ocean and driven. And we have to be careful that we represent ourselves to our people who are thinking about coming here. We want them to understand where they are and that things are an hour and a half away, because we get people who say, I thought there was an ocean here. So we struggle with that. That's one of the reasons. We're still struggling with that in our own head.
I just don't know how
Google Earth.
I don't know how that, I mean, I understand that problem, but I don't know why that would mean you still can't have a logo that is related to the Go Mendo logo. It doesn't mean we can't be different. It doesn't mean we can't use different words, different photographs. But I think it's really important, because otherwise it's as if we're using this 2% or 75% of 2% to create something from scratch, which is really crazy.
Well,
So-
may I ask a question? If we were to label our materials as Ukiah and Mendocino County community and tag on to that, would you see that as a benefit?
I think I don't know, yes, maybe, but I think what's really important is the logo. It's a branding thing. It's the logo, it's recognizable, and that Go Mendo is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars with this logo all over the Northern California region and beyond, I understand. And so it's all based on recognizing a logo, like you recognize Coke or whatever. And in fact, when Coke's, in a different language, you still recognize the logo. And it's that kind of a thing that we should, that whatever is, if you were going to use the words uniquely Ukiah, that's fine. But I think that it should be in a design that is really related to that whole the logo that they use. And the font and all that. I think that's really important.
Okay, point
And,
taken.
I mean, I'd like to hear, if people disagree with me, I'd like to hear about it, but
I agree.
I've been saying that, and I really think it's key. I don't think we should be starting from scratch.
Okay.
I think the level of interest, the level of interest here is our yearly input. And I think maybe if there's a degree of frustration, it's because the way the process is set up, this is basically our yearly input. Councilmember Crane.
Is there a basis for cooperation? Has there been a discussion for the use of that form to help build that brand recognition, Councilman Roden?
Sorry?
Has there been any discussion with the other group about sharing that imagery, about bootstrapping on their logo? Have you brokered, or has anyone brokered that discussion?
I know that when, because I worked with the Ukiah Walks thing, and of course I brought it up with that. I said that the trails brochures should use the logo, or, the style, and that we should, for the walking trails that are in downtown, and we asked Gomendo, I forget her name at Gomendo.
Lydia.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She's like, sure. She was amenable to that. They also feel that they would leverage, you know, the things that we have to offer here in Ukiah is good for them too, so it's a win-win.
Yeah, yes, we work with them. We send out information requests. They send us media leads. We're tied into them. The thing that would be most helpful from council is the uniquely Ukiah theme or tag or branding, whatever you want to call it, came out of the understanding that we wanted to promote the greater Ukiah area, trying to maintain an identity at the same time being collaborative. So, you know, input from council would be very appreciated right now.
Mine.
Well, and I just want to, if I could just add a little bit, because I was involved and asked some of these questions early on as the task force started to develop, and I think that the committee has had 1 year, you know, in this process, and that they're taking in a great deal of input from every piece that they put out, and that I think that the constructive criticism and stuff is much appreciated by all the members on the TOT and the chamber, and Bert, you could correct me if I'm wrong here, but they've been very receptive to it, because I've seen other pieces go out and there's been issues in which they've talked about, and that's how we get better. So I think that those discussions and those comments will go a long way. And I do want to talk just a little bit about the contract and addressing Mayor Baldwin's concerns about the check-in points. That when we designed the contract specifically, we required that there be 2 city representatives that are on the TOT committee, and council at the time had a consensus direction that be the economic development manager and the museum director. Council could change that at any time, and if you wanted to, you know, include, instead of one of those members, have a council representative, you could do that as well. I've also known that the TOT committee in those meetings to be very inclusive of other people that want to come and provide input at any given time. So while there's a set number in our contract that we require, I know that the committee doesn't close their meetings and doesn't close their doors and takes input at any given time. So,
Question, I agree with you about some of these other agencies that you evidently pay dues to. And we don't get our due generally from some of these other groups like, the Mendocino County Promotional Alliance. I hope the TOT committee has regular, rigorous oversight to see if they are mentioning Ukiah, and if they're not, I say we stop sending them dues. If they don't give us sufficient space, let's drop out. And so I agree with Councilmember Roden also, although I don't know where Gomendo gets $200,000 a year. Do you know where they get $200,000 a year?
From the county.
County of Mendocino.
County of Mendocino.
lodging, should
And
they?
lodging.
Is that the Promotional Alliance?
Yes,
They now use the logo Gomendo.
Gomendo.
Okay.
Mendocino.
Lodging Association.
Yeah, the lodging
bid,
is-
Well, we have to talk maybe to our supervisor about this and make sure that they give equal time to the inland part of Mendocino County. Comcast, you have a unique relationship with Comcast. Is that because it dominates the television scene in Northern California?
It dominates the Bay Area. It dominates Sacramento. We're taking from the Randall report that basically says you have 8 million people 2 hours south of you. Take advantage of those people.
The entire Bay Area
The entire Bay Area
is Comcast?
is very highly Comcast, yes.
And there were references in here to push button. I don't know if it was television downloads or computer downloads, or why would we assume that there would be a lot of people downloading a story somewhere on a button for Comcast internet service?
Because most people today do their travel planning by internet. And the more we put out there in the more spots, the more that we're going to attract. And we think with our Comcast 3-tiered multimedia approach that we're going to go after everyone.
One of my